And today I'd like to take the opportunity to share a little bit more with you, step by step, on how you can maximize HealthHub to be able to use it just beyond the COVID-19 records, which everyone uses, but there is so much more that you can do with this app. All right, the first thing I want to share with you before we continue on this session, okay, is the aspect of the ability to customize your login. You know, if you have an app and it has all your information in there, right, it is powerful, but yet at the same time, if it lands into the wrong hands, it's a bit scary as well. All right, so for this very reason, we actually allow you to log into HealthHub using SingPass, because SingPass is your personal identity record. And using SingPass for this purpose, it means that number one, you have to make sure you have SingPass app downloaded on your phone on top of HealthHub, not just HealthHub app in that sense. Okay, and the beauty of SingPass, right, is that for those of you who always forget your SingPass password, don't worry, it happens to me too. Okay, and I'm so glad because once I set it up on my phone for the first time, I will need my password, but subsequently I can use my biometrics or a passcode login, which is numbers, to be able to help me to log in successfully. So the short of it is download SingPass app on your phone, set it up, and then you don't have to worry about your passwords anymore. That's the beauty of it. Okay, so once you have actually logged into HealthHub, you will then be able to see your profile, your name, your IC number, and of course, you only expose your last 4 characters of your IC number. And if there's any upcoming appointments that you have, you can actually see them as well, very prominently on your app. Okay, this allows you to actually schedule your appointments with HealthHub for up to 12 months in advance. Why 12 months in advance? It really depends on each institution, how long their system allows you to book in advance, and so on and so forth. Okay, on the other hand, if first time you are downloading HealthHub, you have an appointment with a public health institution, you know, maybe for a hospital, maybe for a polyclinic, and you've never ever used HealthHub before. Don't be surprised when you download HealthHub, you see the appointments there. It is because any appointments made with any public health institution is actually reflected in here, despite not being made in HealthHub, because we are sharing the same system and we're drawing it from the hospital and the public health institutions database. Some of us, for the very first time that we set up SingPass on our phone, we will have to key in the password, okay, before we can set up our biometrics. And some of us may have forgotten it, okay, our password. So don't worry, have your IC ready and go into this website and reset password. You need to have the date of issue of your IC on hand to be able to do this successfully, okay? So once again, reminder, once you download your SingPass app, just make sure, you know, you set up, you know, everything nicely so that you can actually access your SingPass very well. Okay, and remember, this is to ensure that your health records remain your health records. You don't want other people to get their hands on it for the wrong reasons. All right, today I'm just going to cover with you 8 different items, and more in depth, I'll go through with you items 1 to 4, which will be useful for most, if not all of us. Okay, and for the rest of the items, I'll touch on them briefly because they are useful, but perhaps not as often used in that sense. All right, so I just want to ask this question to us all, and you don't have to answer me, but I think you should know at the back of our head, at the back of our heads. Okay, how many of us have done our COVID vaccinations? If you have, this would probably be something that is familiar, because after having each and every vaccination, we have to wait 30 minutes to make sure that we're okay. Okay, and this is a scene whereby people are waiting, you know, the 30 minutes time before they can actually say that, okay, you are safe to be able to go home. You don't have anything. And while you're waiting for it, notice some of times you will be able to see a poster there. Okay, and I hope this poster is quite familiar to you. 30 minutes wait can be a long time. And this is something whereby it actually shares about COVID, about HealthHub. And this has resulted actually, COVID-19 module has resulted in the most utilized module during this pandemic season. I'll be taking you on a step-by-step journey to understand that no one is lost in using this module. So very fast, when you first log in, okay, you will be able to see after your appointments, you will be able to see COVID-19 records. If you don't have appointments, that will be the first option that you'll see after your name. Just click on it as in step 1, and you will be able to see your appointments accordingly. Okay, so they will actually share with you if you have any upcoming appointments that for the COVID module, it will be there. If not, don't worry. Okay, you will be able to see your vaccination records. Nowadays, I think recently the government has actually allowed those above 60 to just walk in for their 3rd vaccination. Okay, so in that case, you won't see an appointment. But for some of those people who have actually made an appointment, you will be able to see your appointment date and details here. If you scroll down on this screen, you will be able to see your appointment for COVID if you're an upcoming one, but also your vaccination records and status. Okay, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you will be able to see the details of each of your vaccinations that you have taken. And when you have done so, at the bottom of the page, when you scroll all the way down, there is a PDF button there. Okay, and this option allows you to download the PDF for those who like to keep a record and would like to print out a copy of your records. This is very useful because it would also be able to show on your screen. And some people like to print out a physical copy and then just keep it in file, so that if you can't remember when you when you got certified and completed your vaccination, you can make reference to it. Okay, so it's useful. I think this is something that my parents also use it quite a bit for, because they like to keep a piece of paper to know that, oh, I've been vaccinated on this date, and then subsequently when they need to do their booster, then they know what and when to be able to plan for it. All right, another useful option is the ability to be able to view your test results. I'm not sure about you guys, but this has been very useful for me, especially during this worrying season. I think sometime earlier this year, I actually came down with a very bad bout of flu. And you see a doctor, and the doctor is a bit concerned about whether we got COVID or not. And they will do a test and they say, oh, you have to stay home until the test results is out. And then I waited the next day, and I waited and I waited and I waited, and I'm like, how come they didn't inform me? So I decided, all right, I know HealthHub has this module. I went into HealthHub and went into COVID records and took a look at it. The results didn't come in the morning. It came in around 12 or 1 p.m. And I was able to see that I was negative, which means that I could go out. Okay. It wasn't a matter of because I wanted to go out. It was a matter of I wanted peace of mind knowing that I didn't get COVID. And that was really helpful. Around 7 p.m. on that day, then I got a SMS to say that my COVID test result was negative. So imagine, it gave me a peace of mind for an additional 6 hours because I was able to assess my test results earlier on. All right, so having said so, the first step is when we go into COVID records, and remember just now we stopped at the download PDF. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see test records, and you can click on next. And when you go and to look at the details, you will then be able to see your details of that. Okay, in terms of which lab did you take this information, did you take this test from, or did the test for you? And then you can actually go there and look at more details from here. So this is a very useful module on COVID-19. I hope this has been helpful for you thus far. And as we are moving on, we'll touch on My Health Booklet. Okay, as the name suggests, My Health Booklet is something whereby it is very you-centric. It is meant for you and you only, because this is something that is very personal and very private. So an example of it, there are a few modules here, and I'll go through with you each and every one of them. The first module is immunizations. And as I click on immunizations, I will be able to see a list of all my immunization records, including your COVID vaccination records and any other immunizations done at a public health institution, or perhaps even filed by your private GP. Okay, and your private GP will need to file this with the NIR, which is National Immunization Registry, to be able to see this record being reflected. So an example was I did my flu vaccine last year. I did through a GP, private GP, but it didn't file through NIR. So this page is quite blank for me until I did my COVID test earlier this year. So then I was able to take a look at that. Okay, so in future, when COVID vaccination has actually, reached a status whereby, the vaccination has very good efficacy ratings like the common flu, then it may be removed from the first page, but you can retrieve your records from this tab. Okay, the details of the immunization can therefore be viewed from HealthHub through the My Health Booklet. So a very, very useful tool and module here. The next thing that it can do is view medication records. I'm not sure about some of you, but when my parents go to see a doctor or in the hospital, and they often give a prescription for my dad, who is a chronic patient. And interestingly, the last time, I think just a couple of weeks back, he told me that he ran out of medication. So I said, all right, so when's your next appointment with the doctor? And he said, I don't know, but I need my medication. So I said, all right, where's your prescription? Do you have a prescription? And he said, doctor didn't give me a prescription. So I went to HealthHub to view medication records. Lo and behold, when I click on medication and I went to prescriptions, I was able to see his list of prescriptions by the doctor, and I could confirm that the last visit to the doctor was on which date and which doctor actually prescribed what medication to him. So with that, right, I was then able to order the medication for him, which I'll share later on in the module. So a very, very useful module for us, especially for all of us for some of us who have a tendency to lose papers, to forget records and things like that, is the aspect of medication records where we can actually look at our prescriptions. Another good feature is the aspect of medication list. And this is very helpful for some of us who need to take medications on a regular basis at specific times and always forget to do so. So you can actually go in and take a look at medications and create your own medication list from there. Okay, saying that, okay, I have to take this medicine at this time, and so on and so forth. But to be able to do that, first of all, you set a medication list. These are all the medicines I need to take, for example. Okay, and you can add them to this list. After that, you can then set a reminder that, okay, in the morning, okay, and they have a few prompts for you to be able to set it up. What time, around breakfast time, lunch time. Everyone's breakfast is very different. I mean, yeah, my parents' breakfast time is sometimes 6 a.m. And sometimes different people actually wake up like breakfast is 11 o'clock, or maybe they even skip breakfast for that matter. All right, and you can set the medication times, okay, the timing for the reminder, and it will prompt you according to the reminder times that you have set. And then you can go in there and then remember, oh, okay, so I got to take this medication and so on and so forth. So don't get me wrong, there are many ways to do it, but HealthHub offers that ability to be able to do so through my health booklet. Another aspect of it is health risk assessment, whereby, it actually shares with you, government is actually encouraging all of us to take ownership of our health, to make sure we do health screening, okay? And they even have subsidies for that. So from here, you can actually see, for example, in this case, your total cost for the test is $5, and then all the things that we need to take note of. So very useful as well. Like I said, all this, it belongs to us personally. The fourth module within my health booklet is very useful in the aspect of showing lab results. So lab results is one area whereby, I have done certain tests and maybe blood tests, maybe, different tests for the different things that the doctors actually have ordered. I will be able to check from here, HealthHub, to be able to get the details of what was the findings of this. Okay, so not all lab tests are actually being reflected in HealthHub. It really depends on whether the institution allows us to consume that information. But as they allow us to consume the information, because the information comes from them, but it belongs to you. So we will reflect whatever they've allowed us to be able to reflect to you. Okay, so that was very briefly on my health booklet. 4 very good, very useful modules that I hope will help enrich your lives in the days to come. Next thing is the aspect of appointment, registration, and payment. Okay, a couple of us actually go to hospitals or polyclinics, for example, when we are sick. Did you know that you can actually make your appointment in HealthHub? So as you go into the appointments module, you can actually make an appointment, okay? Select a cluster, okay? And then from there, choose which, for example, polyclinic you want to go to, which institution you want to go to. And from there, you will then have to pick what is the service that you want to consume within that, that institution, okay? And then actually state and confirm that, followed by, sharing, do you have cough, flu, or fever? Okay. I want to encourage us to be truthful about our condition. Okay. I know it's a bit scary during COVID to go and see a doctor and tell them that you've got the cough, flu, or fever. But let's be responsible in doing this. And in doing so, right, we are protecting ourselves and we're protecting the people around us as well. As we go through this, they will actually share what are the timings that you can actually make a booking. Okay, most of these polyclinics is only for the same day visits that they will allow you to make an appointment. And as you submit in, you confirm your appointment time and details, you will be able to see a screen that your appointment has been made successfully. Subsequently, when you go back to the appointments page, you will be able to see a summary of all your appointments, your existing appointments, whether it's today or in future, that also are perhaps made by other channels, for example, whether it's by phone or from your earlier doctor visit, you will be able to see them all here. In addition, HealthHub enables you to be able to cancel the appointment or to reschedule the appointment if you cannot make it. So that was very quickly on the appointment module. The next module that we want to touch on is registration. After we have made an appointment, we go to the hospital, we show up for an appointment. And then what happens is that they will ask us to register that we are there. We have to take our IC, scan, and things like that. Did you know that HealthHub offers you the ability to register through HealthHub that you are there to be able to get your queue number? All right, so you can just click on your appointment. Okay, initially we'll just cancel and reschedule. You'll be able to see another additional button, which is to register. Click on the registration button, answer all these questions truthfully, and when you go on to the next screen, they will actually show you your queue number. Okay, so HealthHub is good in the sense that it is a one-stop shop for all these things, from making an appointment, rescheduling an appointment, registering your appointment, and after you see a doctor, of course, you got to make payment. Okay, you can make payment via Visa, Master, or direct debit cards for your medical bills using HealthHub for all public institutions such as hospitals and polyclinics. So this is a very useful tool and very appropriate for many of us who go and see a doctor. All right, so that was on appointments, registration, and payment. The last part that I want to share with you, which I think is very useful, is the ability to grant caregiver access to your health records. So some of us want to appoint a caregiver and grant permission to others to view your health records and perform healthcare related transactions on your behalf. This is very useful for those of us who perhaps you have got children, for example, that you want them to be able to make bookings for your, to make appointments for you, to be able to know when are you having an appointment with a doctor, for example, and they can be able to download this. So for example, my parents have actually appointed me as a caregiver, and they went in and they are able to, I'm able to actually view requests for their appointment, okay, schedule or reschedule or cancel or remake their appointments, check even their test results, and even go through their medication, for example, which I shared earlier. So how do we do this? HealthHub is very, very good in this. It is able to go in and you take a look at the caregiver from the menu bar, the hamburger bar, click on caregiver, and then you can actually add the caregiver. Once you say, okay, I want to add a caregiver, your caregiver need not be your children or your parents. It can be, for example, a friend. Okay, so for example, if I take care of my of my auntie, for example, or a neighbor who's staying by herself, I will be able to download this, and she will be able to grant me caregiver access so that I can help her with her medical appointments, as well as take a look and see what I may need to follow up with her on. So after you read through all the details of what it means to actually add your caregiver, click on agreement, and then verify using their IC number. Okay, so in other words, if my auntie, for example, wants to grant me permission as a caregiver, she needs to know my IC number and to be able to key in my IC number to grant me access as a caregiver. After she has done so, then she will be able to key in some of the information, okay, of myself. So in other words, if my auntie calls me Bear, for example, for short, okay, or maybe a nickname, then, you know, under the name, she can key in Bear. She doesn't have to key my name, Jasmine. It is something that she knows who her caregiver is. I think that's more important. All right. So then you can key in the email address and the contact number. Okay, and do try and get the appropriate email address, because the email address will be used to send a reminder or a notification to the caregiver that they have been granted access. Subsequently, you can choose from all the options what you want them to be given access to, and click on finish. And then you will be asked, you know, to provide a telephone number, which is your own number. Okay, so that you will have a record that, yes, I have submitted for so-and-so to be my caregiver. After you have done that, you will be able to see on your phone in HealthHub, you know, that you've actually set up somebody as a caregiver, and the caregiver will receive an email, okay, that they have been set up as a caregiver. And you, on the other hand, will receive a SMS to be able to say that, oh, you've granted access, caregiver access to somebody. This is just to make sure that in setting up the access, that there is a record somewhere and that you're notified, you know, rather than, oh, I can't remember, have I granted access, have I not? Yes, you can go into HealthHub, and take a look subsequently under my caregivers, you'll be able to see there. Another way is you will be able to see it on your WhatsApp, on your SMS phone. All right, so that was very quickly the 4 modules that I shared was very useful for most of us, okay, which was COVID-19 records, my health booklet, appointment registration payment, as well as granting caregiver access to your health records. Now I'll very quickly touch on the next 4 items, which are 1 slide each in that sense. Sometimes after having a doctor appointment and everything, the insurance company requests for medical reports. You don't want to make another trip down to the hospital to get it, so you can do it via HealthHub. Okay, please note that the requester should be at least 21 years of age. And if there is a need to pay for medical reports, okay, and this is depending on the institutions, you can do so online. So you don't have to physically go down and make a payment there. So these are the participating institutions, okay, that actually have that option. Okay, if you're not sure on which institutions have it, don't worry. If you go into the app, they will actually tell you which ones you can be able to choose from the drop-down menu. And you can select whether to be delivered to you or you want to collect it personally. I'm not sure how many of you, when you go to hospital, right, and you want to claim from your MediSave, okay, some of your payment of your medical bills. Some of you, when you go to hospital, every time that you go and you're admitted to hospital, of course, we don't want people to be admitted to hospital as much as possible. I wish that all of us were healthy and that we never ever have to use this function. But the reality of life is there are times that we need to do so. And if you need to do so, okay, there are 2 options to be able to do so. Number 1 is every time you go in and you are hospitalized, I will have to sign a medical claims authorization form for single use. Means that it's only applicable for that one time that I'm in hospital. Okay. However, there's in HealthHub this option to be able to say, okay, I just want to say that forever, just use, I want to sign this form one time, full stop. And then every time I'm admitted to hospital, I don't have to sign in additional forms. You can do that in HealthHub. So this is what medical claims authorization form, we call it MCAF for short. M stands for multiple times. Okay, you just need to submit it online in HealthHub. One-time submission, and then you're set. For every time that you admit, you don't have to worry whether they will take the money from your MediSave, and you don't have to worry that every time I go, I have to fill out the form every single time. We have CHARS card balance. So this is very useful. I think for my parents, they sometimes go to visit their dentist. I think they use this quite a bit for their dentists. And, you know, they get certain subsidies and things like that. And they get amounts that they can claim or how many times, you know, you can claim in a year. So they use this to be able to view what's their CHARS card balance, how many times have they seen the dentist, how many more times can they use it for. They are also able to be used for some of the medical institutions as well. Feel free to take a look and check it out. Last but not least, the aspect of medication. Earlier on, I was telling you, you know, I can see the prescription of the medication, whether a prescription was being done, given. Another aspect of it is the medication refill, which is very useful. So you can actually order your medications online to be delivered to your home or collection points. I want to encourage all of us to use this feature if you need to refill your medications. Try and minimize, you know, having to go down to the hospitals as much as possible, because it's not the best of place to go to, especially during this period. Okay, but it is very useful when you can actually refill your medications online, look at what prescriptions you have, and then order them accordingly. I think it takes about 3 working days before they can be delivered to you. And somebody from the hospital will give you a call before they deliver, just to make sure that they got the medications correct. All right, so with that, it takes me to the end of my presentation about HealthHub.